Last week I had spoken at length really about a fundamental idea called Tferes V'Yois. You know, the idea is, it says in the brachas and so on and so forth, you know, and so on. What I want to do now, and before I get back into the Ramchal, Derech Hashem, is what is the meaning of Tferes V'Yois? What does it mean? When you see Klal Yisrael does not have Tferes V'Yois, what does that mean? And then what happens and so on. So that's what I want to talk about this week.
That's exactly what we're talking about.
Meaning?
Just now, there's no Tiferes. No, there's no Tiferes. We're talking about first before we started.
Well, yeah, so yeah.
It's like of Tiferes. That's exactly what it was.
That's right. That's right.
Is that we don't have it, or we don't have the level we're supposed to have it?
Well, we have some of it, and it's not all gone. No, it's not all gone.
No, like this. It's very small.
But we don't nearly have what Klal used to have, and so on, you know. Anyway, let me introduce you to a couple of new terms, which is really Kabbalistic, but it's good to know, and so on, you know. What is the job of a Jew really? In many ways, you know, you forgive me if I repeat some of the ideas, but you always have to weave the Chiddush with the background in a certain sense, you know. Look, in the end, it's funny, you know, I was speaking to some guy who was learning Kabbalah, you know. So I asked him a question. I said, what's it all about? There's a whole mechanism here. There's a thing called spheres, right, whatever. And this thing called, what's called the combination of spheres, which are called patzufim, which is configurations, whatever, without getting into that. And there's a whole concept called Eilomus, the world, and so on and so forth. And in the end, what is it all about? They didn't know. I mean, many Mikuborim don't really know. It's interesting to, you know, what's it all about? You know, if I tell you, well, what's the whole point of a plumbing system? Right? What does a plumbing system consist of? You know, you have pumps and you have pipes, you know, and then you have the waste and so on and so forth. But in the end, what's a plumbing system all about? What's its primary function? And the answer is?
Water.
Cleanliness.
Almost.
Delivering water.
Oh,
and taking
water delivery. Very good. That's it. Two simple words. Water delivery. What's an electrical system about?
Electricity.
Electrical delivery, same idea. Why do we want water in the plumbing system? Because water can do what? It can do many useful things for us, right? It's able to remove waste, one. It's able to give us nutrients. We need the water to drink, you know, and so on. And we can do laundry with it and so on. We use the water. It has use. Water is an ingredient or a thing that has very useful abilities. And we want to capitalize on that. So therefore, we've created a plumbing system to bring it to us. Electricity can do what? It can do a load, right? It can turn on a light bulb. It can do all kinds of things and so on. So we developed an entire system to bring the power of electricity and so on. Same idea. So when if you ask the guy, okay, what's all the Kabbalistic ideas? What's it all about? What does it do for us? And many people don't know. And the answer is, which is interesting, that you know, I once asked a person who really knows Kabbalah. He had no answer. What's it all about? What's the point of all this? I will tell you, even though you didn't learn Kabbalah. It's to bring delivery, right? Because that's the system has been delivery of what? That is the question. Well, you have a water system, plumbing. You have an electrical system, right? Who? Fine. So all you've identified is what? Is what it brings, is the ore. For what purpose? Same idea. Because by plumbing we could use the water, we could use the electric. What do we do with the ore? True, yes, but it's more than that. It's more than just a connection to the Baruch. Something else.
We arrive to the Tachlus of creation.
No, that's too general. Yeah, what is the Tachlus of creation?
We do our job to...
Too general. Of course we do our job. Now what? No, what is the purpose? You said it very well. Bring ore. It's an ore delivery system. I hate to use such mundane comparisons, but that's basically what it is, you know? Why? Why do we want to bring the ore? The real question is, what is the ore? You see, it's not light.
To bring Kiruv Hashem.
I mean, for that we have not AT&T, we have Verizon with fiber optics. They bring us, they have an optical system, they bring us light, right? What do we want to bring light for? Or the ore?
Or to fix the bria,
To misaken the bria, what does that mean? What is tikkun? What are you misaken? What do we repair? That's the question. No, that's what damaged the system. But that's not what we're misaken. We're misaken something which he damaged. What did he damage, really?
His presence went away. I mean,
Whose presence?
Hashem's presence. We want to bring it back. That's the tikkun. Tikkun is to bring it back.
Ultimately,
To create to clean up the system in a way that his presence is going to calm down. Yeah.
ultimately, but the
Perfection.
precise idea is this. Reality. What determines the level of reality? How many realities are there, really? How many are there?
2 poles, and then between them, the whole spectrum.
How many categories of reality are there? How many types of reality are there?
2.
3.
What's the third one?
Well, what's the first?
The Gashmit, Ruchnis, and
But what's the third?
Olam Haba.
No, that's Ruchnis.
So
What's the third reality? The answer is God. The Moshe is a reality, isn't he? Right? I mean, or else why are we here, right?
It doesn't correspond to reality of Ruchnis?
There are 3 realities. Each one is distinct from each other. The one we are most familiar with, obviously, is Gashmias. We live in a physical universe, whatever the length and breadth is, and so on. That's a reality. What does that mean, it's reality? It's a certain type of existence, and it has its own laws, right? Gravity and so on. These are the laws of reality. In other words, the behavior of reality is subject to physical laws. The second type of reality is spiritual, or ruchnius, right? What's that reality all about? That reality is fundamentally malachim. You know what I'm saying? It's malachim and whatever the other residents of the Ilamas are and so on. But then there's a third reality. There's a reality called the reality of God. And that itself is divided into 2, subdivided. The first area of that reality is called atzmusoi, who he is in and of himself. We have absolutely no comprehension, and I had given the whole series of shurim at the beginning, who God is and so on, with Ramchal and so on, you know. So atzmusoi to us is a reality, but we have absolutely no conception of that reality. That's one. The second reality of God, or I should say subcategory of God, is what? Is what's called his manifestation, his gilui, right? In other words, the Rasham is beyond what we can conceive of. So therefore, he created what's called a manifestation or an expression of his existence or his being. And that's the reality, basically, of the Shekhinah, of the spheres, whatever the forces are that he created. Okay, they represent him in that sense. So, was that? Well, the truth is, he didn't even mean Atzmusai. Because there's even him, I mean, even, isn't it even, you know? The Rasham is not a reality in any way that we could ever understand it. Well, and I'm going to, because it's not that it's infinite, because there are no words to describe that reality. The Rasham created ideas. And therefore, if all the ideas are created, clearly they cannot describe him, because what was he before any of the ideas at all? That's all the shurim that I gave before, and so on. So therefore, atzmusa is leinoida, it's out. However, what Moshe Rabbeinu wants to know is the reality called the reality of the Ein Sof. The Ein Sof is a nivra. Moshe is not Ein Sof, because Ein Sof means what? It means quantity that has no end. The Moshe doesn't have quantity, and he certainly has no end. It's not him. But the beginning of the reality of God is the Ein Sof, and that represents the Moshe. That's all. And that itself becomes a composite of the spheres.
Like a coat, you said, I think.
Yeah, I gave those. That's all those shurim, which I don't want to go through because I will be accused of repeating the shurim. I don't want to do that, right? You want to check that out? Just look at all the other stuff before, right? Okay. But what I'm trying to say, therefore, there's a reality called Ein Sof, there's a reality called, what do you call it, whatever, Ein Sof after the Tzimtzum, whatever, and so on, and so on. And then there's a reality called the spheres. As spheres are fundamentally, in some aspect, part of that reality, which is the manifestation of God or the expression. Certainly not part of who He is, and so on. Anyway, but the spheres are forces. We'll call them spiritual, but they're much higher or different than ruchnius. Spheres are not ruchnius. To us, they're ruchnius, because anything that's not physical is ruchni. But compared to the malachim, spheres are not malachim either. They're not part of the ruchnius bria. So now what do the spheres, forget about what they are, because that's unknown. What do they do? The spheres create reality. That's what the Rosham uses the spheres to create being. So therefore they created the ruchnius bria, and they created the physical universe. Wow, that's incredible. Could you imagine if I had access to the spheres? If I could take one of these, right? That'd be greater than Houdini. It'd be more unbelievable, you know?
The sphere is a they or it's a thing?
Spheres are forces that are considered Eloki or divine. So as such, they're not ruchnius. To us, they're ruchnius because it's not physical, so it has to be spiritual. But compared to the malachim, they're not the reality of the malachim either. They're much greater. They're considered as part of the, like I said,
His representation.
His representation, which is the third reality of God, but the manifestation of God. That's a nivra and so on, a created entity. So the spheres can create realities, which is unbelievable. Now, if I have access to this, it's incredible. So therefore, this is what it's all about. What the Barshams did is created the two realities, the spiritual reality and there is the physical reality. Good. And what he wants us to do is to empower the spheres to change the physical universe back into a spiritual one. And then to elevate the spiritual realities. That's what he wants. You know, he wants us to repair a damage, or a chassan. The chassan is that we have a physical universe. This is a big chassan. In other words, reality is such where the revelation is concealed, everything is concealed. We live in a physical universe. So what he wants us to do is to change it back into a spiritual. The Ramchal talks about this in Perek Gimel. Yeah, whatever. Which we'll get to, you know. It's a concept of zikuch. Ramchal mentions this. You know, it's interesting. You don't find this concept mentioned in many other sfarim. Zikuch means to purify. To purify the physical universe back into the spiritual. What that simply means is to retransform. Which comes first? Olam Haza is changed into Olam Habo? Or was there an Olam Habo, changed into Olam Haza, now change it back into Olam Habo? Which is first?
Olam
The
Habo
answer
is
is
first?
Olam Habo is first, yes. Very important idea. What Moshe did is he started from the top. He created a perfect universe called Olam Habo. In Kabbalah it's called Adam Kadmon, which means primordial man. It's a name of a reality. It's not a man, it's a name of a reality. Fine. So he created that first. And then what he did is he degraded that. It means he made it more and more rough and coarse and so on. And therefore you have a series of sub-realities that happened. Okay. And then finally, the lowest reality is physical universe. So the Russian says, listen, I'm going to take a being. He's called man. And he's a composite. He's a composite of physical reality, but his neshama is part of Olam Habo. It's interesting. Imagine taking a being, which John Carl's going to talk about, and this will familiarize. Take a being, a composite. Part of him is physical, and the other part is the highest level of ruchnius. Wow. And you put them together, what happens? You know what I'm saying? It's brutal. What can I tell you? It's brutal. You know what I'm saying? So here's what the Russian wants you to do. I want you to change your physical aspect into the ruchni of your neshama. Wow, that's incredible. You see. So therefore, the purpose of man is to change reality, where the reality that encompasses him is ruchni. That's called zikuch. where the physical reality is no longer an impediment at all. And in fact, it's not even physical. It's really ruchni. But it's called physical in terms of the neshama itself. So the reality of the physical is really a relative term, not absolute physical. Relative to the neshama, and we can say it's physical transformed, okay? Transparent physical, whatever, and so on, you know? So therefore, what he wants a person to do, especially a Jew, to change reality. That's what we do. That's the tikkun. The tikkun is to get rid of this type of reality and to make into the reality from which it came from. So he wants us to retransform the physical into the spiritual. You see? So that physical will no longer be an impediment, you know, something which conceals the spiritual and so on. And to do that requires different stages. There are different stages of that development, which is called the retransformation. In other words, he wants us to purify physical back into spiritual. That's it. Once that happens, then what happens? Then the being called the neshama radiates, you see. And not only that, the being called God radiates. All of a sudden, it's all over, because there's no longer a barrier between us and the Baruch Shalom. So when you ask yourself, what is the function of bringing down the ore? The answer is to use the ore to change reality. You see, that's what we need the ore for. So Baruch Shalom said, you need to bring down the ore, whatever that means. You need to bring it down. We need a delivery system of that ore down here, and that will change the reality of physical universe into a completely spiritual domain. And that has a time period. It takes a couple thousand years. But the essential idea, so therefore when you think about it, the reality called the Messianic era, right, is not a reality of Ruchnius. It's Ruchnius that is revealed within Gashmius. Because the Yemosha Mashiach is really a physical universe. We're still here. You know what I'm saying? Except the spiritual universe is now revealed from within the boundaries of the physical. But it's not spiritual in that sense. You know. So there you are. He wants us to bring down the reality. But how? How do we bring down this reality, which is the ore? So Kabbalah is nothing more than the study of the system that will deliver the ore to us. It's a delivery system of ore. For what purpose? To change the reality of physical into spiritual. Okay?
Who would be sending the ore? The spheres? You're bringing it from where?
Okay, wait.
Who's the-
So there are two terms, which are interesting terms. It's called man and mad. We need to do something. We need to initiate an action of some sort. That's called mayon nukvin. It's called feminine waters because we are now going to receive something. In other words, fundamentally, that term means that we need to make a request. It won't happen unless we make the request. You know, you want something, you need to ask for it. Forget about how we ask, but that's the concept of a request. We need to initiate some type of an action that in and of itself is a request for the source of the ore of the spheres to come down. Once that happens, when we make the request, whatever's the legitimate request, through our actions, then the sphere of Chokhmah, which is a very high sphere, pours out a certain amount of ore. And that's what we need. We need that type of incredible energy. And that will descend through many, many different conduits and levels and come here and begin to change that reality. And that's called Mad, Mayon Duchrin, masculine waters. Because the male gives and the female receives. So therefore, we need water. So therefore we make a request, which means we initiate the action, whatever that is, and all of a sudden, from the highest spheres, they will pour forth duchrin, masculine waters, and they'll pour it down. That's really ore that will enable us to change the entire physical universe, but not only physical universe. We will then change the spiritual universe also, because even the spiritual universes are degraded. There are levels of spirituality, even in the spiritual universe, you see. So therefore, to be more concrete, so we live in a certain physical universe. So that would be called Olam Asiyah, the world of action, right? And the action is the request. Please, the bakosha, send it down. And we'll talk about, okay, how do we do that request, right? And then that will change the physical universe. But what it also begin to do is change the world above us, which is spiritual, which is called Yetzirah, the world of formation. That will then, if we bring down further ore, that will change the world above that, which is the world of Bria, creation. And that will change the world above that, which was called Atzilus. All four worlds are part of the Olam Hazeh, which means they exist now. But
Excuse me, what's the translation of Atzilus?
it has two translations. Eitzel also means near. So it's Atzilus is near because it is near Olam Habo, which is called Adam Kadmon. Or Eitzel also means to emanate, the world of emanations. Because from that world, there's an enormous amount of emanations of the Shekhinah, of the divine presence, which is the lowest form of the manifestation of God. Because the Masham looks different at different Olamas. Because it depends on how much we can perceive of God. So in this world, we don't perceive anything, hardly anything. But as you go higher, the perception of His presence gets greater and greater. So you have Asiya, where there's almost no perception. Then you have above that, now this becomes spiritual, you have Yetzirah, which is a perception. Malachim, by the way, live in Yetzirah. Then you have Bria, which is creation, right? Those three worlds, what's called Bia, or whatever, those three worlds are, the bottom one is physical, these two are spiritual, but they are worlds in which there are others, malachim, whatever denizens reside these worlds. The world of Atzilus, which is the highest level of Olam Hazeh, is only the Moshe exists on that world.
Nobody lives there.
Nobody lives there.
And in Bria, who lives in Bria?
Who?
In Bria, who lives in Bria?
Well, Bria is the roots of Olam Hazeh, of the roots of the physical universe. You exist in Bria. In other words, you have a spiritual counterpart. That's really you. You see, it's like, you have a shirish, right? That shirish is in Bria. If I went to Bria and manipulated that shirish, you would automatically follow. It's like a robot. You would automatically do exactly what I'm manipulating you in Bria.
Sounds dangerous.
This is
Yeah,
the idea where
it's
people
more
say,
than interesting, It's a way to manipulate.
But
the
that's
entire
what
universe.
Bria. Malachim are before. Malachim in the Nitzera. Malachim are not in Bria.
What?
Malachim have no access to Bria, they're in Nitzera.
Not really. There are some, but but the shirish of the neshama is in Bria.
So what does it mean, the neshama from Olam Atzilus?
Wait.
The Sprach?
Wait. I don't get pulled away. Wait. So we have Atzilus, which is the Rebbeinu Shalom. There's nothing in Atzilus except Rebbeinu Shalom. But the revelation amount or level is inferior enormously. But it's that which we need to understand the Rebbeinu Shalom. Okay, when Moshe Rabbeinu asked to see Hareinu es Kvodecha, what he was really trying to understand is Atzilus, the Rebbeinu Shalom as he is in Atzilus. You see, okay. Now, we're supposed to retransform. Zikuch, Asiya, transforms into Yetzirah, back into Bria, okay, and then all of a sudden into Atzilus, where everything is God, okay, where the Moshe is completely pervaded, and then the whole thing is retransformed into the first Olam, which is called primordial man, Adam Kadmon.
Just above us.
That's above, and that is infinite, infinitely in time. That never ends, and that is the end of the transformation. So once you've reached the level of reality in Adam Kadmon, which is Olam Habo, that level is the greatest level of all. That's Ainoi Rasa. Nobody knows what that reality is. Nobody understands what the Giloy is there, and that's Olam Haba, and that goes on forever.
From Asir to Atzilus, they disappear, no more. Only Odom Kadmon.
Yeah, all those four worlds, which is called the
They will
Olam
disappear,
Haba,
as
is
you
disappeared. It's gone.
Three just doesn't.
The only thing left is Adam Kadmon, Ak, that's what Shetavus, which is Olam Haba, and that's the only thing that remains existing.
But if in Atzilus only Hashem exists, so
What?
where is our existence over there? If in Atzilus only Hashem, nothing else, Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't able to see, so how do we exist over there? I mean,
Where?
Odom Kadmon.
No.
We
So
don't exist anymore, that's it. We're gone.
we're all retransformed into a type of level neshama that can live in Olam Haba.
Means now there is no being there, but at that point we will be beings inhabiting that
Yeah,
area.
we have to create Olam Haba. The problem is it's been degraded. You see, we have to make it again. How do we make it again? By this concept called Ziko.
No, but you mentioned that there's no being in Atzilus because
No.
there's only Hashem's presence. But that's going to change, right?
That's well,
We
the
as beings
Atzilus
are gonna
will
come-
retransform into Adam Kadmon. So we will get rid of the lower three worlds, and then Atzilus will retransform into Adam
But
Kadmon.
if it's above Atzilus, how can any being exist in such a
No. It's no.
Instead of
We-
Being like this
we-
will not exist.
No.
As
Being
we
like that will exist.
we will
We
transform
haven't been assigned to do this.
ourselves where we can exist.
Oh, okay. Right now, nobody in Atzilus. At that point, we'll be able not only to be in Atzilus, we'll be even
Not
higher.
after his doing.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, we elevate, of course.
Is that more than
Wasn't a
Gan
high
Eden?
level than us though,
Much
wasn't
higher.
it? Wasn't
Much higher than Gan
Much-
Eden. It's more than Adam Kadmon.
Make it happen.
It's more than
much more,
Adam
much greater.
Supposed to make it
Adam
happen.
Maurice
You
couldn't
didn't make
have-
Adam had
Zero.
also an avoided to make
Was it
it.
zero?
Oh, so
He
low.
had to go, he never got to that, he never did.
Oh, it's not the,
He never did the ticket.
But he,
supposed
Adam
to
Koimachet was like in Olam Yetzira. So Yetzira is right next to us. So, but it's much more. It goes into the Bria and then so on until Olam Haba we will exist. You know, Olam Haba. Obviously, the
The
Neshama.
Naden
has
Atachtan
been-
is Yitzira.
Yeah.
Who
Attack,
exists
no,
as a
Elliot.
realistic abri.
He wasn't Gan Eden Elyon.
Who?
Outmerish.
He was in Gan Eden Hatachta. But that was like Yetzira. That was the reality of Yetzira. Yeah. So once we get to Olam Haba, the interesting thing about Olam Haba is that there are infinite gradations of Aliyah in Olam
The
Haba.
Rebbeinu created the world that needed the ticket.
Well, he degraded the realities until you get that, thereby necessitating a tikkun. So the tikkun process really is what?
It wasn't even a
Is
chet yet.
zikuch to retransform all the olamas up until you get to the highest olam, right? And even in that olam, there are gradations. Means there's an infinite amount of levels in olam haba, and therefore goes on forever. We don't understand what the levels are, you know, and so on. But you know, it's like imagine, I don't know. It's hard to give an example, you know, but the joy of the first minute in Olam Haba is nothing as compared to the joy of the second minute in Olam Haba, which is nothing compared to the joy of the third minute in Olam Haba.
So-
And we're talking about an eternity, right?
When a person-
Could you imagine 50 million years later in Olam Haba? You're like, well, what does that mean? You know, we can't master
The
the
neshama
joy.
if it goes to Olam Haba?
What?
The neshama if a person dies goes to Olam Haba?
No, there is no Olam Haba now. It goes to Gan Eden or Elyon, which is Olam Yitzira.
It's still, so
And it has to wait.
So that means all those
Because you
neshamas are waiting
can't
for the breeze down here to do the ticket.
And you're waiting for your former goof. You will go up with your goof, which will be incredibly changed.
You gotta
That's
put
it.
the right carcass into your grandchildren, your great. They better do their job.
Because,
Because they're the ones that are gonna eventually have to do that ticket.
well, you can do the tikkun too. You
I'm
and
saying,
everybody.
together, yeah.
Yeah, no, it'll get done.
So
That's
this
again.
process of bringing down the or, don't we do this every day when we do mitzvahs and learn Torah?
Wait.
If so-
Wait. First, I had to describe the reality. So, we now understand the concept that the Kabbalistic terminologies and realities is basically a mechanism that brings ore down. Like a water system delivers water, electrical system delivers electricity, this system delivers ore. The difference is that the ore changes reality. it determines the level of realities. So we want to use that ore, right, to change the level of Gashmias into the higher one, which is Yitzira, into Bria, right, and into Atzilus, so to speak, where Atzilus then becomes Olam Haba. Once you get to Olam Haba, then that itself has an infinite amount of growth levels. So any minute in Olam Haba is not the same as the minute before, which is not the same as the minute after, and so on. So
Yemos Mashiach, this is Yitzira?
no, Yemos Mashiach is not Yitzira, it is it's Asiya.
Oh, still Asiya.
In other words, if you, in other words, the
But what
greatest
transformation
state-
does happen? When does transformation actually happen?
Oh, wait.
The first one, when Gashmias goes, it becomes a Yitzira.
It's in 2240. What of the year? What's 2240?
No, Legabe.
I think it's
6,000.
2240. what
No,
is
it's the year 6000.
6,000?
As soon as the year 6000 hits,
Oh.
yeah, we're 5,774, right? So what do we got?
That's
So
why
6,000 it goes up to Yitzira, that's what happens?
That's when the Zikuch begins.
Okay.
That's when the Zikuch begins of the universe, physical universe. That's when it begins.
So how does that happen?
And therefore the physical universe begins literally to retransform right in front of our eyes.
So what's
Now we, however, since there's no more physical universe, then what happens to us, right? So there's a place, we then inhabit another place, okay? Well, let's say another place, let's say Gan Eden or whatever, right? And for 1,000 years we wait until the entire physical universe is gone.
it's going to disappear.
No, it retransformed. You know, it's like, I mean, the best example, imagine this table. It's opaque, right? It's opaque. You can't see through it, right? But what happens if I could take this table and all of a sudden make it into glass? So you could see right through it. Same table, except its material is different. You know. Now what happens if I could take the glass and then make it into air? But let's say that air was solid. But now, incredible! It was ultimately we're dematerializing matter, and higher and higher
That
and
takes
higher.
1,000 years.
What?
That will take 1,000 years without our
That-
participation.
Without it, yeah. No, it has nothing to do with us anymore.
We'll just watch like a movie
The-
from there.
Well, yeah. The tikkun will have been complete when the Mashiach ben David appears. That is the completion of the tikkun.
So what's the
The
challenge?
Yemosha Mashiach, there is no more challenge.
I mean,
It's over
is
with.
there not enough people doing this, or those that?
No, we're doing it now. We are doing the tikkun.
No, the
But it has
question
an end
is,
point.
where is the R going today? That's
Well,
the question. I think
Why
that's
is
what's
it
troubling.
transforming now? Why?
Yeah, where's the R? If we're doing a
Why
mitzvah
is
and the
it
R is supposed to
coming
come down, where's it being stored?
Good question. So
Not
the
to
Ramchal
do
will
with
deal
God.
with this in Derech Hashem. He will deal with this in Derech Hashem. Where is this? So how come it's not happening now? If I'm bringing the or
Do
down,
we need
I should be
unan-
seeing this now.
Do
And
we
we
need
answer we don't.
unanimity among Yidden? Do
What?
we get everybody to do this in order for it to happen?
We need all the Jews, each Jew is assigned a different place in creation where you need to mezakech that area. So right now, what we're doing now is bringing the or down, except we have a credit. It's like a bank account. You know, I don't want to spend my money, I just want to save it, right? So you have a bank account and you begin saving your money, right? Okay. And then someday you'll take it out and spend it, right? The or is being put into your account in a bank, but it's not used to mezakech. You see. And there's a reason for that, as we will say. I mean, I'll tell you what the reason. The problem is, it's the chet of Adam Rishon that prevented the actual usage immediately of that or. That's the problem, which we'll talk about when we get to the Ramchal and so on. But in any case, so therefore all the or coming down is being stored. And it's a credit. Each one has his amount of or that he brought down, but it's not in any way, there's no operational activity with that or. It's all stored. When the Mashiach comes, right, then part of the Zikuch happens very little. But the real Zikuch happens when the Mashiach is gone. And it was in the year 6000, that's the end of the Messianic era itself.
So
Which Mashiach?
Then David.
Mashiach when David is gone?
Yes. He's over.
When Mashiach ben Yosef comes, that's when something starts, no?
Yeah,
What's
because you're not familiar with the kufas and so on and so forth. But I'm trying to say, look,
We have to focus. We have to focus.
No, there's two processes. There's a tahara, there's a kedusha. Mashiach ben Yosef gets rid of the zoyama.
that's the tahara.
That's the tahara.
Listen, quick. Mashiach ben Tikkun happens for the last 4,000 years. We've been working at it, right? Actually, Tikkun started from Adam Rishon, except he failed. Okay, and then for the next 2,000 years, I once gave a shiur on this, mankind tried to do the Tikkun, they failed. The last 4,000 years, the Jews are doing the Tikkun, and we're succeeding, right? Okay, when the Tikkun will have been done,
We really succeeded?
what was that?
We
Being
didn't succeed?
stored.
What's
Being
succeeding?
stored,
Wow.
We're going to time.
No, it doesn't look like it. No,
Being
I,
stored.
mitzvahs,
If
you're
it's
doing
not
avodah.
zikr, it's not happening.
I'm not succeeding.
Is it
What?
I don't know
You're
about
doing
you. I'm
fine.
not-
No, but the
You're
Rashba
doing
succeeded.
You're doing kick just
Okay,
like going
okay.
to the
There are
shul.
people that have succeeded.
Is it 100% sure? What about the notion I do a mitzvah today have plus in this physical world?
No, wait. It's-
Also, we're in the middle. We're in the middle.
Wait. You didn't drag too many sides. No, wait. I'm just trying to give you a feel of the tkufas, the periods of time. So you have our 4,000 years of Tikkun. Okay. Shortly before the end of the 6,000 years, because the world, Olam Hazeh, will only last for 6,000 years. That's it. As the Gemara says, Shisa Alfei Shlin Hevel Alma. The world will only last for 6,000 years. And we are what? 200, right? And 36 years before that end. Correct? 5,774? And 74. Oh, wait, no, what am I talking about? 5,700 is 26 years. 226 years to go. Is the year 6,000. So first, Mashiach ben Yosef will come, and that begins the Messianic era, but not really. That's one. First Messiah. Then Mashiach ben David comes, the second Messiah. But when Mashiach ben David comes, the second Messiah, right, then the world changes. In terms of Olam Hazeh, it's a physical world. Except in that time, there will be, nature itself will change to a certain extent. It'll be miraculous. One of the things which is astounding is Tchias HaMesim. Everybody gets up from the dead. That's about as radical as you can get in Olam Hazeh, right? So you have everybody, right? So therefore, the nature, the physical universe doesn't change, but the laws change. You see, there's no more death, there's no more sickness, right? It is incredible hatzlacha. Nobody has any, there's no worries, struggle for parnosa. All this is gone.
Going to?
Will it be family?
Mashiach ben David. And that will last until the year 6,000. Once that happens, which is 2240, right? Once Mashiach ben David ends, then the whole world begins the zikuch process. That's when all the ore that you've got in your bank accounts is released. And it begins to impose itself, right, on Olam Hazeh, which is the physical universe, right, and begins to change the physical universe. So the beginning of the zikuch process is the year 6,000. Got it? And therefore the change begins, and it takes a couple of thousand years because Asiya has to change, and then Yitzira has to change, and then Bria has to change, right? And then into Atzilus, and Atzilus itself has to change.
Everything takes 1,000 years.
Basically, yeah. So you
Do
have from
we
6
know-
to 7. So the end of Olam of Asiya is 6,000. From 6 to 7 is Yitzira changes. From 7 to 8, Bria changes. From 8 to 9, Atzilus becomes Odom Kadmon, and in the year 9001 is the beginning of Olam Haba.
Wow.
In the beginning of the 10,000th year.
Hold on.
But it doesn't make a difference. No, see, the main thing is Mashiach ben Yosef, or Ben David. And then it's over. There's no more Yetzirah, there's no death. It's over with. So the only difference is, are you going to live in, do you have a condo in Florida, or do you have a condo in Hawaii? You see, so the only thing you have to worry about is that how much luxury do you have? It's no longer struggles, parnasa. It's all
Is it a
gone.
society? Is it a community?
What was that?
Is it a community you feel you're living in, or is it an individual neshama?
No. It's everybody who's zochet to live in Olam Haba.
So when everyone comes
Everybody
back,
gets up from the dead.
if most people are Gilgulim now, how do they know which spouse to go to or which set of parents to
It's
go
a
to?
whole world of questions, that. That's what
You want to know if he's
Yeah.
gonna still be
They
there?
say most people know Gilgulim.
Everybody gets up. That means each one of you Gilgulim will get up.
With all the wives.
So who
pays the bill? You know?
Yeah, so who are you?
will you?
Yeah.
But that's the question: is who are you, really? Are you the same person that lived previously, or are you the same person in the sense that you all have the same neshama, although different parts of it, but the consciousness is different. That's I'm gonna get into it, you know. But the main thing is that the physical laws change and everything begins.
Isn't that question
Okay.
the one you
So-
asked the big expert in Gilgulim? You told me you met a big expert. in
Yeah.
Gilgulim, and you asked him this question: who are you?
Yeah, the real question is who is the self? Who are you? You know, who is the self? That's the real question. Because if you really think about it, if somebody would walk over to you and take away all your memories, everything, who are you then? You have no memory of anything. Your birth, events, peers, parents, nothing. Imagine if you had complete absence, erasure of memory. And then you're looking at me with just a blank, like, you know, it means you're looking at me, there's a consciousness,
Pure
because you're
self-awareness.
looking at
No
me, but there's no
experience.
memories of anything. There's no what's called self-identity. If you think about it, our sense of who we are is all memory, right? If you took away all the memory, then who are you?
Self-awareness.
What?
Pure self-awareness.
But what is that? Pure self-awareness. It's interesting, you know? So then the question is, that's who you really are, pure self-awareness, you see? And then the question is, who is that, and what's the relation between that and previous Gilgulim and so on? But anyway, okay, so we now have an understanding of what we bring down. We bring down this ore, change realities, to get to another reality, a high, the greatest reality of all, which is Olam Haba. That goes on forever. Like I say, every minute changes radically. Where no minute is the same. So it's something which, you know, it's like the Rebbe says, I'm going to throw a party. And it's the greatest party that was ever known, where every minute is another joy. I mean, you know, wow, I mean, this is what dreams are made of. Well, I should say, guys on dope, this is what they dream about. Getting a better high. So to use their language, every minute is another high, but it's a greater high. It's not just another high, it's a greater high that goes on forever. And you never get bored. Because whatever the high is, guys on drugs never get bored. You ever notice that? How come when everything else you get bored? But a guy on an opium drug, you know, his heroin and so on,
He's happy laying there.
there's no boredom.
No, they get dead, but not bored.
They get bored, yeah, okay. You know, so, and Olam Haba is an eternal high, which is just, and you know, and it's not addictive. Maybe it is addictive, I don't know what to say, you know, but anyway.
So
But anyway, so that answers the
Kabbalah is a
question.
mechanism that describes this.
What?
The Kabbalah is a mechanism that describes this.
Yeah, so the Kabbalistic mechanism is nothing more than the description of the system. You know, instead of calling it a plumbing system, we call it an ore system. You know, a system or conduit system that brings down all this incredible power to be mezakech the bria. And of course, the ultimate idea is with each zikuch, what happens? What's the essential change in reality? What is it? So what I'm telling you so far is a zikuch, which means there's a change of realities. We retransform to higher and higher levels and so on. But what changes? Really?
What changes when
In each
zikr
reality.
happens?
Yeah, what changes in each reality?
You said
Perception of
Tashmish
Hashem.
becomes more ruch. That's what
No,
you
that's the outer understanding.
Perception of Hashem and the perception of
The
what's meant.
Gilui of the Rebbeinu Shalom to you. That's what changes. So in the beginning, right now when we have a Gilui of the Rebbeinu Shalom, Where is it? It's outside of us.
Intellectual. It's intellectual.
Intellectual or sensory. Intellectual, sensory, whatever. But it's external. Did you ever have a sense of the emotion internally? Not externally. Internally. That's what happens. That there's a gilui, a greater and greater experiencing of God Himself within, not outside. You don't need outside.
But it doesn't happen in a seer at all. It's impossible in a seer.
Well, you know what happens in Yemei Mashiach. That's the beginning of
Even
it.
in a seer.
Yeah. Where do we see this? Where do we see this? I should say where do we see it. How do we know this? Not how we know. What pasuk refers to this? That the real gilui of the Rebbeinu isn't external. It's internal. Where do we see this? What's the famous pasuk?
Hashem Echad. That's what it is.
No, Molo, Oretz, Deya, Kamayim,
No. That could easily be external. No, where's the famous pasuk?
Shavois Elovavecha, Keshem Elokim.
No. You all know this. V'osu b'migdash v'shochanti b'soicha. It doesn't say v'shochanti b'soichoi. It doesn't say build me a migdash and I will dwell b'soichoi in it. No, it says in them. You know what I'm saying? What does it mean in them? It should say in it. Build me a Beis HaMikdash and I'll dwell in it, the Beis HaMikdash. It never says that. It says I will dwell in them. That's a murdi gilui. What does that mean? It means that the entry of God into the Bria is through your neshama. You are the portal.
So, Beis HaMikdash is a Yerida.
You know what a portal is, right?
So you're saying,
Portals.
Mason.
The gates. The neshama of Klal Yisrael is the gates of the Shekhinah. That's how he enters. Therefore, if that's how he enters, what should be the major experience? Internal. So then why in the world do we have to build a Beis HaMikdash?
That's a lower Madrega, that's after the Egel.
Exactly.
That's what that's
Yes, because that's an oynish, believe it or not. It's an oynish to have to build a Beis HaMikdash. So there's two dinim here. The first din is, what's the entry point of the Shekhinah? The second din is, where do you experience the Shekhinah? So normally, the entry point is b'soichai, b'soicham. And the experience should have been b'soicham. Means you should experience, you shut your eyes and there's where God is. You feel Him. More than just feeling Him. It's not just an emotional experiencing, it's a true existential experience, which we don't understand what it is. Where you actually can touch God, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? It's more than just feeling Him. You actually know Him. We don't know what that means, you see. And by knowing Him, we know who we are, because we emanate from that knowledge. It's something beyond our comprehension. But because of the Chet Egel, the Moshe says, excuse me, you still remain the entry point. You guys still remain the portal. Yes? However, you will no longer experience me where I enter. You got to go to a place, to experience me.
But what kind of
Astounding. That's the Chet.
Ruchem v'nafshin. That's but in the Beis HaMikdash, who experiences Ruchem v'nafshin, the person. Asadi b'yechna, that's what we say Friday night.
Yeah.
Ruchem v'nafshin.
No,
Beis
again,
HaMikdash is the place where we get turned on.
yeah, because it goes out
Through us,
back into us, but which should not be.
Yeah.
You see?
Well, what's the difference? If I come to Beis HaMikdash, I feel it from inside, no?
Yeah.
No, but it's not the same, because it's been filtered by an external universe. It's no longer the same.
It's still internal, just different darga. Well, it's still
Yeah,
internal.
it's internal, yes, but it's once the source of the revelation is external, not internal, it's not the
What's
same.
the source of revelation? What's the source? What's the source of revelation?
Well, if you went to the Beis HaMikdash, you could actually feel the Rebbeinu. You had an
But you feel
incredible
it
unknown.
inside, so you feel
Well,
inside.
everything is inside. We experience everything inside. But since the source of what I'm experiencing is external,
Where is it supposed to be?
it's purely inside, never having to go outside to come back in.
Uh-huh.
That's what Shechat B'Seichel.
And it should emanate from you to the rest of the
That's
world.
Moed Gilui. That tells you that the gateway of the Shekhinah in the Ruchnis de Gebria is through the Neshama which comes right into you. So you don't need to go anywhere. You just sit down and shut your eyes and there it is. Incredible. You see. But after the Chet Ego, we have to go to a place, a mokum. There's a gvul now, there's a boundary now. You gotta go to the Beis HaMikdash, and over there you can experience the Hashem within, but now it's coming, the what's called the Shefa is now coming from without.
Even the third Beis HaMikdash was going to be that.
The third Beis HaMikdash, no.
So why is that clear?
Oh, that's a good question.
Avodah.
Yeah, because there's still the Avodah. There's an Avodah. But no longer will you need the Beis HaMikdash to experience the Rebbeinu Shalom. You don't need it anymore. But then that Beis HaMikdash will be a place that you can do an Avodah, you see. And therefore that's what changes to all the Alamas. What changes is your experience. A greater and greater contact with the being of God, the knowledge of God, and so on. Which we are circle. When you get to Olam Haba, right? There is no external experience anymore. It's the greatest Giloi within of God. And we have Ain Ra, so we have no idea what that means. To experience God directly within, we don't know what that means. Totally. I mean, not totally, but the Shekhinah, as great as it is, and every microsecond is a greater Giloi that goes on in forever. So we don't understand what that is. You see? But it's a complete experiencing of God from within, not from without, that eternally will grow and grow, infinitely, for all time. So, we don't even know what that means or what, and so on. So this is what we have to do. Bring it down, zikuch, begin the change, retransformation of the Bria, into Olam Haba, and with each transformation there's a different experiencing of God from within, with each transformation, you see. So therefore, this is the meaning of the entire system. Now, the question that you have to ask now is, okay, what's the man? Remember I said man, Maya Nukvin?
That's Avodah?
What's the initiators? How do we initiate this?
Avodah?
Okay.
Mitzvahs.
Well, no, there's six different triggers. 6 different triggers, And now I want to spell it out so you can know the totality of all the avodas and so on. What are we really doing here? This is the meaning of the entire avodah. This is what it's all about. We now understand. When you check the meaning of an Ezra, what are you really doing? You're bringing down a certain type of ore. Okay, it's put away, but a certain type of ore, right? That's going to give you a certain type of gilui.
Is it a good idea to know what kind of word we bring by certain mitzvah? What does it make? As long as we bring. Now, do we have to know more than technicality about the mitzvah?
No, because intent, mindfulness, is part of the avodah itself.
So it's better know what kind of word it's
That's the difference between. Let me ask something. Moshe Rabbeinu put on film, you put on film. What's the difference? Same act. Same exact act. But we both know what he did was a lot better than what you do. Why? Wherein lies the difference? It doesn't lie in the physical act. It lies in the mindfulness. What is he thinking about that you're not thinking about?
And
that's, and that's what does it. You see? So clearly mind, awareness, what you're thinking about, is part and parcel of the mitzvah itself.
Challenge.
Well, it's only a challenge, but that's part of the mechanism that brings the ore down. So therefore, we now have a handle on the mechanisms, what happens, what you really do, what's it all about, and so on. So next week, I want to go into the avodah more extensively, and then from that begin to understand the two different directions of tikkun, and then you'll understand what Tiferes and Ois really is. That in the end, they're nothing more than barometers of which method of avodah are we doing, A or B.
But there's really 6 that turn into 2?
There are 6 forms of avodah, not 2.
Ois and Tiferes, 2.
Ois and Tiferes is the barometer of either mode A or mode B, because they're 2 general directions of doing the tikkun. And how do we know which one we're in? Tiferes and Ois. And that's what I want to That's why I gave this whole introduction to Tveres Anois. It's not just Tveres Anois, by the way. Wow, we got beauty in mind. Now what? So, no, because they are mode indicators of which way the tikkun has to proceed, you see. And that's what I'm trying to do, follow all this up. So next week I'll go again to Avodah and proceed. I'm doing this before I get back to Ramchal, because it's a beautiful understanding and introduction to, when you get to Perek Gimel, it's going to be a whole different Perek Gimel. Look, this is meaning. Judaism is no longer ritualistic. Judaism is nothing more than a statement of what? Of reality. It's physics. Judaism is not a religion. It's not ritualistic. This is the great tragedy that has happened to the Jews, where it's all rituals. But Judaism, in a certain sense, I hate to compare it, it's like science. Science is study of reality, depending on which aspect of reality you want to study. You want to study living organisms? It's called biology. You want to study energy and matter? Physics. You want to study chemical bonds, molecules? It's called chemistry, etc. Science learns about reality. Judaism is the understanding of reality at its deepest level. The ore and the triggers of the ore. But really, after the meaning of Judaism lies in the reality. That's what it lies in the ore. It lies in the hashkofa. That's what it is. And so on. Look, you get into a car. You can do one of two things. Then the car turn on the engine and you're off. Right? Now maybe you don't care beyond that, because all you're interested in is, how do I get my car to move? I want to go shopping. How do I get, how do I drive? So in a certain sense, it's ritualistic. Well, you got to turn on the engine and put in gear, press the accelerator and the brakes and so on, and that's how I get it. That's nothing more than the technique.
Yeah, but then the result is clear. You arrive somewhere, so
yes.
It's clear. Yeah, we know what we do. Then what?
Oh, but that's the difference.
We arrive?
Oh, but that's the difference. So even though I'm at the level of technique by a car, it's technique, that's all it is. But who cares about the internal combustion engine, because I get to where I got to go and I'm there and then I'll enjoy that. In Judaism, I shake a lulav, that's a technique, right? Now what? There's nothing beyond that. See, at least if I use my car, what's beyond that is I get to go where I want to go, and that's the meaning I have, not the car. But in Judaism, this is the whole meaning, is the mitzvah. Now what? That's the problem.
Why did it tell you
The soul wants to know more. This is the mistake everybody makes.
Why did it tell you
The neshama wants to know what's behind all this. And if I don't know, forget about it. I'll go somewhere else for meaning. And that's why the outside world is so attractive, because they provide meaning, or relevance, I should say, to a person's life. Shaking a lulav doesn't provide relevance or meaning. So after a while, he burns out unless he feels guilty, or he needs to do it because what's my friend going to say? And what's my... there's all kinds of psychological reasons and so on, But if a person wants to really be motivated to observe Yiddishkeit, Judaism, he has to have meaning. You don't have meaning, you are risking that eventually, even if you don't leave Judaism, but you'll have a tremendous chalisha, your whole passion will incredibly diminish and possibly die. So you'll just go through it, it's what's called going through the motions. That's what you want, fine. But the youth don't take that anymore. You see, as an adult, okay, we got our society to live in. What's our wife going to say? What's my friend going to say? And so on. What's my Rav going to say?
No, somebody wants to do the right thing. You know it's right. You believe it's right.
Yeah, but it's not enough to attract youth. There's no passion. The youth need to understand meaning, because the world provides an incredible amount of meaning, pleasure or whatever.
Because you suffer through life because it's right into suffer. It's missing.
Why did it tell you?
Maybe you, but it's suffers.
It didn't. Shivas left that hashkofa.
No, but where did it tell you, like lulav? Where do you see what hashkofa is?
You mean, why is it not in the Torah?
Yeah.
it's
Well,
not
actually it
open,
is. It's in the Kabbalah.
Yeah, but the Kabbalah is a closed book. You gotta
Yes, okay. But there is hashkofa, you're right, there is hashkofa, you gotta put it together. You have Ramchal, you have Maral. There's a lot of Gedolim that dealt with hashkofa, right? Look, the Be'er Mayim Chaim, the Or Chaim HaKodesh He's filled with hashkofa, isn't he?
Well, 1 second.
So we go to them, that's
But
all.
Chaim HaKadosh every once in a while says, I can't be Meirich, ki yidu lo yoder chaim. This is soy.
Oh, fine.
What's the translation of soy?
Soy?
Secret, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
they call it secret.
yes.
Because it's fire, it can't be revealed to everybody.
It's not,
That's what we-
you hear that? Can't be revealed.
Yeah, but
So
wait a
it's
minute.
meant not
Only-
to be revealed. That's his point.
No,
Okay,
come on.
wait, but
Meant not to be revealed.
No,
and you
no,
want to know
no,
why
no.
yeshivas don't teach it? Or
wait,
something like that.
no, wait. But there's two dinim here.
Yeah.
There's two dinim here. There's soid, which is kabbolah, but there's hashkofa diga kabbolah. It's kabbolah, right, brought to the level of hashkofa, without going into the mechanism, the purpose of creation, the Rebbeinu Shalom, what the whole concept of mitzvahs are, the concept of or, what we talk about now. This is
That's the
hashkofa.
bonus, all this.
Yeah, this is hashkofa. So whatever happened to that? You know,
So these things
the
were-
Gemara has hashkofa,
So
right?
so all those things had the Kleisel had the Messiah from Pell all the years, and then we just lost it. They understood these before the Ramchal, before the
Yes.
Maral.
We lost it, yeah. Look, there's no question in my mind. I mean, if you ask yourself, you know, what did they learn in the Midbar 40 years? What did they do there? You know, a lot of time, there was nothing else going on, right? No iPads, no nothing. What they do? You know what I'm saying? And they had all day. They didn't have to work because they had the money. They have to buy clothing.
And they had
because
Moshe
never with
Rabbeinu.
it. And what they do all
They
day?
had Moshe Rabbeinu also.
What did Moshe do when they had Moshe Rabbeinu? So what's he supposed to do with them? You know, the answer is they learn Torah. But when you learn Torah, I mean, could you imagine take a guy who has nothing to do all day, no work because he's got all his needs met, everything.
He just
What's he
came
do
out
all
of
day?
Torah.
What?
They just came out of it, right?
So what do they do all day? They learn Torah. The question is, well, what Torah? Clearly, there has to be something that occupied them for 40 years. I mean, right?
And they weren't bored.
What?
They were not bored.
No, they didn't get, they were certainly not bored. So the question, what they do all day? There has to be obviously a Torah. There has to be at least 40 years worth of Torah that you could learn, right, if you're not employed. So the question then is, what is it? And the answer is, it has to be the Sisrei Torah. You know, Yaakov Avinu, he went to Shem Va'eva, 14 years, and he didn't sleep. I mean, he slept, it's obvious he slept, but he never went to sleep. Means he'd learn and then he'd fall asleep at the table. That's what it means, you know. He never prepared himself for bed, you know. He'd take off his clothing, put on his pajamas, and go to sleep. He never did that, right? He just fell asleep whenever, and so on. So the question is, what do you learn for 14 years? And that's already, he was 63 years old when he got there. I mean, he already was a Gadol B'Torah. I mean, Yaakov Avinu at 63, right? So what did he learn it for in the next 14 years?
Balakama maybe, I don't know.
No. So obviously he learned what? He learned the Messianic of the Mauritian, which is all the Kabbalah, the Alomas. He learned the thousands of ideas that he was able to learn, and so on. Obviously, what else was he doing for 14 years? You know what I'm saying? Chong could be that good. 14 years worth of Chong, you know? Same idea. Do you ever think about this? What they do with 14 years? What guys do for 40 years? You know what I'm saying?
So it just got lost slowly but slowly.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Obviously, it got either lost or they decided this, as the generations got lower and lower, this is not appropriate to be teaching people because if they sin, then on the contrary, it's a kitron. Because somebody who knows this stuff and does a sin is much worse than somebody who doesn't know this stuff. So therefore, Amaratzis becomes a shield against kitrudim. By the way, that's why we're probably such Amaratzim today, because that protects us. Because then the angel says, hey, what do you want from these guys? They don't know anything anyway. You know what I'm saying? Which the guy was an incredible Talmud Chacham and all that. Then did a chet. You can imagine what the kitruk is. But if a guy doesn't know anything, so well, what's the kitruk? He may not know anything anyway. It's like a Tinnik Shenishbo. He's a child that knows nothing. So obviously, as time went on, because the Chatoim got worse, they decided to conceal it. So obviously, it disappeared. But even without Kabbalah, there's what's called Kabbalah de hashkofa. There's hashkofa based on Kabbalah, but it's hashkofa, and that's an incredible limud. In fact, without that limud, you're not going anywhere. I don't care who you are, you're not going anywhere.
Morale barely ever brings desire. Barely concept.
Yes, well, that's the problem. The problem is between the, somebody once told me, it's interesting, somebody once told me that he heard from somebody else, Moshe Feinstein. So this is like, one away, Somebody asked Moshe if there is an argument between the Gra and the Maral, who do we follow? Interesting question. Obviously it means hashkofa, and so on, not halacha or whatever, So Rav Moshe said, Anu, ain't Anu elo divrei hagra. That's it. There's no question. He's the undisputed. Yeah, but why? Why is that? And the answer is, because the Maral never had access to the Ari. The Maral and the Ari lived at the same time, except the Maral was in Prague, used to be Czechoslovakia, now Czech, right? And the Ari was in the middle, he's in Eretz Yisrael, in Egypt, or, Tzfas, or whatever. So the Maral never saw any of the writings of the Ari. And therefore, between the Ari's understanding of the Zoya, and the Maral's understanding of the Zoya, which he had, there's two different understandings. It's like once Reb Chaim Vital, who's a Talmud of the Ari, the greatest Talmud of the Ari, so he brings it down, the Chamas Moshe, the Ramchal, that Reb Chaim Vital brings this down, and he mentions it, that the Ramak once appeared to Reb Chaim Vital in a dream. Interesting. Reb Moshe Cordovero, who was, for a very short amount of time, a Rebbe of the Ari. It doesn't mean he was a Rebbe, just the Ari went to his shiur when he first showed up in Tzfas. Obviously, So the Reb Chaim Vital asked Reb Moshe Cordovero, he says, whose Kabbalah do they learn? Yours or the Ari's? Because the Ramak has a whole, also tremendous makubal, but it's different than the Ari. Because the Ari revealed things that nobody ever knew before. Because his Rebbe was Eliyahu Novi in Egypt, whatever. So the Moshe Cordovero said, they teach the Ari's Kabbalah. So Reb Chaim Vital, he said, why is that? Is that because yours is wrong? He says, no, mine is not wrong. Mine is first grade. His is postgraduate. That's the difference. And so on. So you see, obviously, that there are differences. So therefore, if you never had the Ari, which Ramak didn't have, obviously, because Ramak died 2 or 3 months after the Ari showed up in Tzfas. So obviously didn't have the Ari. So it's beginners. Was the Ari, what he did is he enormously expanded the ideas of the Kabbalah. And that's why without the Ari, your Kabbalah is not, your Kabbalah is elementary.
All these ideas were known for the time of Rebbe Akiva,
The Tanoim, right?
Yeah,
but they didn't say anything. So the Ari restored it. Whereas until he restored it, nobody knew about it. So therefore, that's why if you take a look at the Maral, there's a lot of ideas that he presents which is different than the Ari or the Ramchal or the Gra or the Rishash. It's a whole different way of learning and so on. And therefore, so the question is, which is more authentic in a certain sense than the Ramchal, the Gra, the Rishash, the Baal Shem, because they all took from the Ari, whereas the Maral never knew the Ari. So that answers the question, and so on and so forth. It's just that it's not the advanced stuff of the, it's elementary. Although obviously Maral was an incredible person, so you can imagine even elementary stuff is incredible. You can make a goylem out of that. I don't know if that's good or bad, but you know what I'm saying? What?
I'm saying to make a goylem, he went into the goylem agreed to do that. What?
No, it's Sheamus. Yichudim and Sheamus. I tell you, today what the Maral did was really not so very difficult. You look around, there's goylems all over the place. I tell you, what's the big deal today, Next week, wow, it's late. Next week we'll continue with the whole, get into all this stuff,
I missed the Vishachanti Visoicham. What did you want with that concept?
What I want?
Yeah, that being that with the portals of...
that was last week.
No, right now. Being that we're the portals of...
We are the portals of the entry of the Shekhinah into the Bria.
So that's why we have to bring down the mad?
No.
How does that fit into this whole night tonight?
No. So it just means that the entry of the Shekhinah, when it is Nizgala through us and into the world. That's its portal, its entry point.
So that's how we have to do that avoider?
We have to bring down the orders to us. Whether that means it comes to us also, perhaps. Perhaps the whole thing comes to us right out of our group, right into the planet.
Yeah, we
Probably
don't even
that's
know
what
this. We don't even know
And
this.
we will feel good about it when we feel it.
Someday I have to give the hashkofa on theoretical physics.
This what you're saying about
Motion quantum mechanics. What it really
It
is.
should be separate shiur.
Yeah. How you combine quantum mechanics with Kabbalah. What the real combination is.
this is a letter in Ramchal what you're saying about shaking lulav and this and that. Did you ever saw that letter? The Ramchal is like saying he writes in the it's brought down back of that
Yeah, I
student.
keep forgetting your name. Is this on? To be, the body has to go back into being dirt, offer. We had offer toshu. In offer, there's no zoyama. Then when you get up with a new growth, there's no zoyama.
Offer has no zoyim.
No.
Actual sand has no zoyim.
No, it's inanimate. Zoyama is. I mean,
That's why rocks last forever.
to last forever. I mean, that's the idea. It's that in offer there's no zoyama, and therefore when you get up again.
And I thought anything Gashmi has zoyim.
Yes, probably to a certain extent. So, whatever it means that
Probably in comparison to the group or
yeah.
person.
Tzaddikim don't need it.
Pashtus, it has no zoyama.
Well, offer has no zoyim. That's
Yeah.
the way I
If when you
understood
go
that
back, you get
Ramchal
up,
is that you have
there's no
to
zoyim.
undo the old guf and start a new one, and the new one will be built without zoyim.
Yeah.
Not because offer has no zoyim.
No,
Just
yeah,
a
but
new
you,
one.
No, but you build that. No. Tchias means you come back with a body
I
from
know.
the earth.
True, but the new one is built from the luz, from the.
That's how it's resurrected from the Lord.
Yeah, but
What's
that's going to
material?
be built without Zion. It's going to
Yeah,
be
but
built a new way, the way Hashem made Adam Rishon without Zion.
The luz has zoyama
What?
because it's your back. It's the bottom of the spine.
So
That has zoyama.
That must have not have Zion.
Well, I'm just saying. So there's something about. It's not clear what the process is, but there has to be something about that has no zoyama, and from that, it's funny because how in the world could you build a body from the luz? And the answer is DNA, because the luz has DNA, and all you have to do is start the DNA all over again, right? And the DNA builds up to a whole body. Today, with today's science, it's very simple. You can clone, come right back again.
The Ramchal says the same thing by the Koisel. He says the Koisel is the luz of the new Beis Hamikdash. That's why it was never destroyed. He writes that in his letters. And
You know
what's the
why
Shabbos, we have to feed the luz.
You know why the Beis Hamikdash was never destroyed? Well, the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed or not?
What? The second Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, yeah. But the Theram,
See, that's mistaken thinking. Beis Hamikdash was never destroyed. You gonna tell me
Where
it
is
was
it?
destroyed? What?
I was there, I saw it.
See, what was never destroyed in Shachanti, Besoich, Schom and Choy. The difference is where does the Shekhinah reside? Does it reside in the Kodesh Kedoshim, or was it now moved to the Koisel? The concept of a Beis Hamikdash isn't the place; it's the fact that the Shekhinah is here. The question is, where is it? So originally it was where the Oren was, but if there's no Oren,
Shekhinah is still here?
of course.
the Koisel.
But the Koisel.
The Gemara says.
I didn't feel it. I mean, I could eventually come to Beis Hamikdash to feel the Shekhinah. I was there, I didn't feel
I
it.
think that's what it
no,
means
it's
when
not
it's
just
not
that.
My wife felt
not
the
feeling.
Shekhinah, by the way, by the Kotel. But I'm sorry, I thought it's emotional. I held it's emotional. She said, no, it's real.
No, but it's not only that the Shekhinah no longer resides. The feeling of the Shekhinah is severely diminished. It's not just that the Shekhinah moved, and therefore you'll feel the Shekhinah as much as you would feel
I felt
like
nothing.
Kodesh
I felt
HaKadoshim.
nothing much. No, it's a great place, and I don't mind to go there again, but I felt nothing. I didn't feel the Shekhinah.
Some people do tzaddikim. I mean, there's.
I said, you can feel it here too.
No, but Shechina Ba'ifim Churban is a whole different reality.
Anyway,
It's Churban of the Shechina, but it's still there.
Every yontif,
Okay.
it says
Luz.
all oilers, so that yontif come down.
yeah, but who feels it?
If it happens.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Nobody has the mindset to feel it. We're too into the rituals. I'm telling you, Judaism is no longer, it's not spiritual. You know?
The Mchal says this by Lulav, right?
It's
You
I had a
tragic.
Chabus- I had a
You
Chabus-
can almost find more spirituality in Buddhism.
No, the Mchal.
You find
Chabus
Judaism.
said, Chabus said, we're learning Mechtav Eliyahu.
Yeah.
Hashkofa.
Yeah, it's hashkofa, yeah.
The Mchal says that it
Well,
feels bad.
is a combo of hashkofa and musa, yeah.
The Mchal says that he feels bad for somebody that doesn't know hashkofa, Kabbalah. When he shakes lulav and esrog, he says, if I didn't know Kabbalah, I'd be bored. You do it over, the same thing again. In the morning, Mchal, right? I'm telling you, he writes it in a letter.
I have to see it.
Looking back at Das Tfunas, right? And one of these, like, the Asafis, so he's malaka things. He says the guy does the same. He wakes up in the morning and he does it in the sukkah. Then he comes to shul and he does it by Haidu and he does it there and he does it there. What is he doing? You go crazy.
Yeah. Mamish.
So,
Yeah,
What
but
happened? What was that
bottom